Hi everyone, this is Bill Zajac, Bolesław Zając for some of you. I want to talk about a dish that I just made this morning, or yesterday, and we tried it this morning, and I was so excited that I thought, hey, I gotta make a YouTube video out of this thing. And so what it is, it's a mushroom dish that's based upon a Polish dish that we used to call Galaretka. That's what my mother called it. When I was growing up and I was a child and my parents had a restaurant, my mother used to make this dish called Galaretka. And what she would do is she would buy all these cheap cuts of pig's knuckles and pig's feet and all this stuff, and she'd put them in these giant kettles. And she'd boil them for hours and skim all this stuff off the top. And then when the meat was falling off the bones, she would throw those in a big pile. The tables looked like this, only they were much, much bigger. And I would sit at the end, and what would happen is I would help her pick the meat off the bones. And then I would suck on the bones. It was so delicious. I remember doing that when I was a kid. And then what she would do is she would cut all that stuff up and she'd put a few vegetables in, and she'd put them in these little, in fact, this might actually be one of those pans. She had a bunch of pans like this, shallow stainless steel pans. And she would put the meat and the vegetables in there, and then she would pour that liquid broth on top to cover the meat, and then she would just refrigerate it for a day or so, or for a day. And then what would happen is all the fat would float to the top, and she would flip it over on its side and cut the fat off and throw that in the garbage, salt and pepper it, and put a little vinegar and that sort of thing on it. And in some cases horseradish. I'm going to show you how you can do that here. And it was just divine. It was just amazingly delicious. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer here. I am a chemist, somewhat retired, and I do a lot of research, nutritional research, because not only is it fun, but it's keeping me alive, I think, you know. And so I just want to put a little disclaimer out here that as I talk about supplementing with collagen and various different things, and I start getting a little more scientific on this, I just want you to know that if I draw any conclusions, they're my own opinions. And they're all backed up by research, but on the other hand, I want you to do your own research. If you want to do something that I do, please research it, talk with your doctor, or whatever the case may be. But that's just a little short disclaimer here. So I kind of aspire to the vegan lifestyle, although I'm not 100% vegan, all right? I tried it for a while, and there were a ton of health benefits for me going completely vegan. However, it became increasingly difficult, and I sure missed some of the vegan products, the non-vegan products. Now, it started, I eat fish pretty much, not a lot, but, if I break any rules, it's usually with stuff like shrimp. I love shrimp, and maybe an occasional lobster, codfish, cold water fish. I'll eat that. I don't eat any red meat. I don't eat any pork. I don't eat any chicken. I make an exception with collagen. All right, collagen is made from pork or beef. It's an animal product. But as a chemist, I refer to collagen in my own mind as a chemical compound that's important to our bodies, and from a nutritional standpoint. We can get it from a non-animal source. We can get it from a marine source, but it's still an animal product. But it's so much more expensive, and so there's a lot of. It's been well known for a long time that people who eat Jello is nothing more than collagen. It's flavored with sugar and food coloring and flavoring. They served it in hospitals for 100 years. It was like they knew that people who ate a lot of Jello, their hair was healthier, their skin was healthier, their fingernails were healthier, they were healthier. It just has a lot of benefits. And nowadays, with all of the sophistication of biochemistry that's available to us now, they're understanding why. Why is that so? For the longest period of time, it was well understood that collagen was nothing more than pure animal protein. Protein is just strings of amino acids. And when we eat those, our digestive system breaks those, hydrolyzes. It breaks those proteins into its individual amino acids, then our body then takes those amino acids, distributes them throughout our system, and they tend to migrate wherever they're needed. And new protein will be made. If you cut yourself here on your arm or on your foot or on your toe or on top of your head, those wounds will heal because they'll take those amino acids and reassemble those into new protein. That could be a new fingernail, it could be a new piece of skin, it could be anything. It could be to treat inflammation internally, externally. There's a whole bunch of things going on. Now, with collagen, the neat thing about collagen is that collagen, when we eat it, it hydrolyzes, but it's incomplete. So there's a bunch of things that are going on here that we didn't quite understand, and we're getting a better understanding now. I'm a big fan of Rhonda Patrick, Dr. Patrick. I don't know her personally, but I've seen a lot of her videos, and she's a strong proponent of nutritional supplementation, and one of them is collagen. And collagen is referred to as, there's three types, type 1, type 2, and type 3. Type 1 is the biggest protein molecule, type 2 is a little smaller, and type 3 is even smaller yet. But they're not individual chains of amino acids, they're just small, short chain proteins. And the question that has been unresolved until now is, do those proteins just simply escape our body, just go pass through us and nothing happens? Or do they make it into the bloodstream and is there a benefit, and do they go to where they're needed? And one of the ways that they determined that was by using radioactive elements to construct the protein molecules, and then people would eat them, and then they could actually tell exactly what happens to those short chain proteins. And it turns out that all of the short chain proteins wind up in our system, and they all go to wherever they're needed. And the thing that collagen that we need as we get older, because we stop making it. We stop making it at around age 20, and by the time you're 70 or so, it's the only source you can get is supplementing. You need to get it in your diet, and it's a pretty easy thing to do. And mushrooms, Dr. Paul Stamets, I mean, doctor, I think he's just Paul Stamets. Big fan of him. He's a mushroom guru guy. Everybody that knows anything about mushrooms knows about Paul Stamets. He's another champion of nutritional research and supplementation with mushrooms. And so, I've been having fun with mushrooms for the past couple of years now. Cooking them differently. There's another YouTube site called The Wicked Kitchen. Please go visit it. They're completely vegan, but they really propose meat substitutes using mushrooms of all kinds, and they have some phenomenal recipes, and they're fun to watch. But what I did here is I had this dream a couple nights ago. I said, I think I can make Galaretka. And my wife goes, what's that? I can't remember. And I told her, and she goes, oh yeah, I remember, it used to be good. And I said, I went out and I bought some mushrooms. And so what I have in here are 3 different kinds of mushrooms. I have some shiitakes. I've got some, what was the other kind? There was the blue oyster mushrooms, and I also have some King Oyster Mushrooms. The King Oyster Mushrooms, I sliced them very thin. They look like these little round coins. I sliced them to about 1/8 of an inch thick because they are kind of chewy, but they have a meaty texture. And what I did was, after I sliced them and cleaned up all these mushrooms, I washed them all in cold water, and I probably had about 2 or 3 pounds of mushrooms. And so I know I didn't have more than that. And what I did was I used 2 of these. That's 16 ounces each, so 32. That's a quart of water. After I put the mushrooms in, I cut up a couple of carrots and a couple stalks of celery, and I put some spinach in there. Now you can get very creative with this. You can put other vegetables like peas and corn, and these were poor men's dishes at one time, and so that's what people did. They just doctored them up, and now they're gourmet dishes, and it's kind of fun to play with this. But anyway, what I did for gelatin, I thought, well, okay, I boiled all this stuff. I use this, it's like bouillon. It's an Asian product. It's called vegetarian seasoning. You have to go to an Asian store to buy it. But you can use bouillon. You can use anything you want. Like I say, if this is an animal product, they do sell vegetarian collagen. I'm not quite sure exactly how it's made, and I'm not sure if it even works. I'm sure that the marine collagen would work, but again, it's not vegan either. So, but I'm not afraid of that. I don't see any downside benefit or risk at all. If you get meat collagen, there's always a chance that it could have mad cow disease. But that's an infinitesimally small probability. It's like, to me, it's not even something that I worry about. And so this one here is Knox gelatin. I bought it in the grocery store across the street. What I did with 16 ounces, I used 2.5 packs of this. So I guess that's 2.5 ounces, I guess. And so in a quart of water of gelatin. And I just, once I put it in there, I just put it in the refrigerator overnight, and this morning I woke up and I was excited. I thought, oh my God, did it work? And I took it apart, and it did everything except the worst part, I don't have any fat. So that's actually a good thing. And what I'm going to do is show you how to eat this, all right? The Polish way and the way we ate it when we were kids. And again, what you do is, it's just like Jell-O. You just take a slice off, okay, and put it on a plate, just like this. I'm going to try to see if I can get this off of here. And this is what it looks like, all right? And I've got to get some vinegar. Hang on. Do we have some vinegar here?
The fridge. Fridge.
The fridge. Vinegar and horseradish. We have horseradish? We do. Okay. What I use, you can use any kind of vinegar. I like these sweet vinegars, the rice vinegars. This is one I bought at an Asian store. You can buy regular vinegar and sweeten it yourself. You don't have to have it sweet. You can just use vinegar. I put salt and pepper on this. What you do here is you slice this up, and this is what it looks like. Can you see? Can you see this being sliced? Okay, here we go. I'm just slicing it up. Now these are little slices of, well, some people used to call this head cheese and that sort of thing, and you could make it a little thicker, but you really don't have to. You could actually put these slices on a piece of freshly baked rye bread, and trust me, you thought you died and went to heaven. And what we do here, I'm going to show you how our family used to eat this. Now, the first thing you did was you added a little salt and pepper, okay, and then if you have that crunchy salt, the Himalayan of it, that would be really good too. Pepper looks like it's out. We could put some more pepper on there. And then just simply take, let's see, get this open here. I'm just going to put a few tablespoons of vinegar on one side, and then I'm going to take some horseradish, and I'm going to put that horseradish on the other side. Okay? And I gotta tell you, this is amazing. Now, this is how you do. You just take a bite of this, and I need a napkin. Divine. Just simply divine. Let's try with a piece of horseradish here. Okay. This is a horseradish piece. Oh. It's like I died and went to heaven. I need a napkin.
So Bill, just to get this straight, you cooked the mushrooms in water along
Yes.
with the vegetables, sort of simmered them until the vegetables were a little soft.
Right.
And then you added the water with the collagen?
No. Okay, cut out. First thing I did was I took the oyster mushrooms and I peeled them all apart and I cut out the dirty parts, and then I sliced up the oyster mushrooms into these coins, and then I took the shiitake. There's one more kind of mushroom. There's 3 kinds of mushrooms. Then I took shiitakes, and about equal amounts of each. Maybe half to 3/4 of a pound of each, and they're all water. So I mean, it's a couple pounds of mushrooms. Don't add up to much. And then what I did is I threw them in a bigger kettle, and then I covered them with 2 of these 16-ounce things of water. If you put in 3 or more, what you can do is ladle it off. And the reason why is because all I had was 3 packages of this stuff, and according to the instructions, a quart of this stuff would need about 8 packets of this, or 2 ounces of this. I put 2.5 ounces just to be sure. and it turned out beautiful. Now, it only took 45 minutes to an hour for the kettle to boil and cook the mushrooms. The mushrooms would cook down, and they
And
were
the
very, very
vegetables.
good. You don't have to cook them to, like, to death. A little al dente or a little bit, just as long as they're cooked, it's fine. I did slice the mushrooms up, which I showed you here. And then I cut up a couple of carrots and a couple stalks of celery, and I took a handful of spinach and I put that all in there. And then I took that broth and I mixed it first in cold water, and then then I took a little bit of that cold water, and then I poured that into the big kettle. I poured the hot water and the mushroom mix together. I mixed all this stuff together in my pot, and once I had that, I just ladled it into this thing, okay, and covered it like that, and made sure that I had enough liquid to cover everything. I wound up with a little bit of extra liquid, which I put off to the side, and you can thicken it with cornstarch or flour and put it on mashed potatoes or something like that, and it was great. So there's tremendous health benefits to collagen. There's tremendous benefits to eating mushrooms every day, and there's an awful lot of fun eating old ethnic recipes that were a poor man's food. I mean, these were poor cuts of beef, low-cost cuts of beef or chicken. They can make it out of any kind of animal protein, and that would make its own gelatin. There is no gelatin in vegetarian products and plant products, and so we have to supplement with some gelatin. Again, even though there's a little bit of pork, I mean, this is made from it's made from pork skins. It's really just a chemical compound that's loaded with proteins. And again, our bodies hydrolyze it and distribute it accordingly. So that's how it is. I hope you enjoyed this video. This stuff will stay in your refrigerator for a couple of weeks. If that, it'll probably be gone in a couple of days because it's so delicious. I hope you enjoyed it. And so, do widzenia.